presence for me is the sense of connection to my resources.
Okay.
So sense of anchored to my resources.
Welcome to the Transactional Analysis Podcast. Conversations about the theory, application, and spirit of TA. Brought to you in partnership with the United Kingdom Association for Transactional Analysis.
Aya, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you, John, to invite me.
Yeah, great to have you here. Why don't you start off by introducing yourself, telling us who you are?
Okay, I'm Aya. I live and work mainly in Japan, and my house is located in Kamakura city, where the ancient capital of Japan in 13th century, maybe. Yeah, it is very nice place to spend the time. I love this town, and I work as an DEI consultant and diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant for big Japanese private companies. And also I do some facilitating of learning place, such as management training or leadership training for Japanese business persons. And I do some one-on-one counseling for individuals.
Nice.
And I am sort of the practitioner of Shugendo for 13 years.
I immediately want to jump in to ask, what is Shugendo?
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, Shugendo is the mixture of Japanese Shinto and Buddhism and animism. So it is sort of the religion, but I don't understand Shugendo is just a religion. It is sort of the spiritual training habit of Japanese people.
Is this in any way connected to Aikido?
Aikido, yes. Martial arts, you mentioned. These two are related to each other because these two, both of them are created by Japanese people.
Okay, yes.
So the perspective is shared in many ways. But Aikido in the category of martial art, from my
Yeah.
perspective, such
Yeah.
as judo or a karate. So it is about fighting situation. Shugendo is for praying,
Okay,
blessing.
nice. So I want to go back to TA. How and where and when and why did you find transactional analysis?
Yeah, it was 2006 or 2007. I changed my career from engineer to organizational development consultant or the facilitator. At that moment, I joined to the company, HR company, which provides some training or consulting program for the private companies. And I found the tool, assessment tool called TPI. TPI is abbreviation of Todai Personality Inventory. And this is the 500 items of questionnaire for locate what kind of state that the person have or other aspect. And that too is composed by the MMPI framework and egogram and OK Coral. That's the moment I met to the TA frameworks at that moment.
Right.
So you got curious, I guess, at this point about TA. What did you do next?
Yeah, the first response from me to the TA was, "Oh, it's very nice too. It's very nice for communication. So I need to learn it." And I jumped into the TA 101 and I learned about the philosophy or other theories or more, deeper aspect that TA has. So that's the starting point of my TA learning.
And from what I know, there is quite a substantial TA community in Japan. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it is big or small, but yes, thousands of people learn, about TA.
Yeah.
But most of people are stand on the classical TA. That's a situation of Japanese TA community, such as only egogram or OK Corral, stroke. Such kind of classical TA concepts are popular in Japan.
Okay.
And most of the people think TA as very old fashioned psychology.
Okay.
That's interesting, isn't it? How, because it was developed in the 60s, I guess, and very popular when Byrne wrote Games People Play. Sometimes in the UK, I've noticed those who are aware of TA see it as something from back in the 20th century that has never been updated. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think unless you do advanced training in TA, you don't necessarily get to meet the more modern and postmodern theoretical thinking, the updates in thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of Japanese people, think TA is out of date, and it is not that TA can be effective or such kind of sense toward
Yeah.
TA. That's very sad for me
Yeah.
because most of Japanese people don't know about the contemporary TA, which is integrated with other theories like positive psychology or systemic thinking or co-creation or such kind of concept.
Mm.
So that's a very sad thing.
Yeah, we were having a conversation with Graham Summers and Keith Tudor, and it was so enjoyable recognizing how TA can be used to integrate so many other pieces of theory or to understand other approaches and how it's generative. One of the things that I think TA does is it inspires creativity around theory and developing new ideas to explain humans and human interaction. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So because of the philosophy of TA, openness,
Yeah,
TA is extremely inclusive theories and approach
yeah,
from my perspective.
yeah,
So we can unite a lot of theories
yeah.
with TA and create the new thing.
I also have some curiosities about how TA may or may not be compatible with Japanese culture, particularly some of these underlying philosophies or principles that have become kind of part of the canon. Not necessarily that Byrne said this must be the way it is, but they over time became the way. Things like direct, open communication. Again, I don't know a huge amount about Japanese culture, but I have over my working life learned some things that maybe directness, for example, in Japan isn't actually seen as being polite or appropriate. So I wonder, how have you adapted TA to fit Japanese culture?
That's very nice point, and I need to ponder about it again. Yeah, definitely Japanese culture has the aspect of an implicit quality in it. So shut up the mouth and just doing something and show the intention throughout the behavior or such kind of way is very polite in Japanese culture. So when it comes to doing direct feedback in the training session, sometimes what I receive is the allergic response. Oh, you said that, or "Oh, you mentioned about that point, or such kind of fear and allergic response with some P1 fantasies or what's going on or what's next or such kind of atmosphere I pick up in the workshop. However, sometimes the participants of my workshop learn the safety in other way. So I need to show my potency to hold their, fear or doubt to do the direct communication. And it is not about the verbal communication. It is about my presence, rather. So they observe me carefully, whether this creature is safe or not.
Yes.
So that's the reason why I always brush up my presence rather than the language. Yeah.
I've got a question. I'm curious. When you say your presence, I have lots of ideas as to what that means when you are describing presence. I'm curious what your thoughts or your framework for what presence is for you when you're in a training group like that.
Presence, for me, is the sense of connection to my resources.
Okay.
So sense of anchored to my resources. Also, other things such as nature figures and human relationships as well, and a good memory of my past experience or something else. Everything would be my resources. And when I have the good sense of connecting to my resource, somehow my presence is very nice status. So that's my answer.
And when you are in this state of presence, would there be a noticeable change in the way that you are experienced by others? What might they notice in you? Is there a slowing down or a pause, a greater sense of calm, or what's that like?
The quality,
Mm.
are you asking? Maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Inside myself, the calmness and also the equanimity.
Great.
These are what I feel when I am in very nice presence.
Yeah.
And what I see around is very clear. Everything are clear for me. So the color and the voice and sounds or air or such kind of sensations are all clear. That's a quality that I experience when I am very nice. Nice? I'm not sure nice is good adjective or not, but yeah, good presence. At the same time, yeah, somehow I see the people surrounding me feels very nicely. The good presence is not mine. Good presence is about the ba, what I mentioned. Yeah, BA, ba. So yeah, it is not my presence of group.
So it's co-created.
Exactly.
When you're seeking equanimity for
Mhm, mhm,
yourself,
mhm.
is Shugendo influencing how you achieve that?
Yes and no, I can answer. Because joining in the Shugendo practice, it's my habitual thing. So it is my yearly protocol. So it is very similar to brushing our teeth at the night. It is daily life practice for me to do the Shugendo training and Zen practice as well. So it
Right.
is, in other words, it is not for certain purpose. It is basic, fundamental practice of mine. But when it comes to I join the Shugendo training, I can get some equanimity or calmness or a sense of connected towards the nature system and the people, or such kind of outcome I always get. Mhm.
Are you saying that your Shugendo practice, it has an influence over you as a person, and then and your capacity for presence, and then
Mhm.
you can exercise that in your workshops, the presence? So like I would, for example, practice mindfulness meditation, which
Mhm.
hopefully will support me to be present with my clients. But the Shugendo, it has an influence over the way you work with your clients, but you're not actually practicing Shugendo in the room with your clients. Is that correct?
Yes, so far it's correct. And for example, the mindfulness is goal-oriented, practice for me.
Okay.
So, Matt, you said, and you practice mindfulness and you get some equanimity or a sense of stable or such kind of quality you get.
Yeah.
And you, as a practitioner, you use such kind of quality that you get from the mindfulness.
Yeah.
So the mindfulness practices mostly have the purpose or the goal.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a quality.
I might disagree a little bit with that, but maybe
In
okay.
general, not your in a case, I think, but in general, yeah.
I can see both sides of this. I think for each individual, it would be for them to be able to say whether they do or don't. And I can see your point, Aya, that with things like mindfulness and meditation, for example, which largely come from Eastern cultures,
Yeah.
there has been a tendency in the West to commodify these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rather than to
Mhm.
really invest in learning the philosophical underpinning of them, they
Right.
become things that you do. So
Yeah.
I see both sides, and it may be the case, Matt, that you haven't done that. You have invested in the underpinning philosophy, and I think a lot of people don't.
That's true, actually. Yeah, that's really helpful you say that because
Yeah.
I think sometimes people are using mindfulness to gain, to feel less of the effects of depression or to relieve their stress. Whereas
Right.
actually, I think the core of mindfulness, similar to it, comes from the Buddhist principles about being here and now, present, which is less goal orientated. But
Mhm.
I do think often mindfulness is used to deliver a result in the West,
Yeah.
typical Western mindset. Yeah.
Yeah. Or individualism, in
Oh,
other words. Yeah, I don't want to spread East and West.
I know.
I don't like it.
yeah, that's a really good point. You wrote about that in your form. You talked about that actually. I was really interested in your ideas about what it means to be global. And was it Minson's term about being worldly?
Yeah, worldly. I like
Yeah.
that.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so maybe you could say a little bit about your perspective on that. I thought that was really important, that there's
Mhm.
not wanting to create an east-west divide, as you mentioned. So yeah, tell us more about that.
Yeah, worldly is the terminology created by the Henry Minterberg,
Winterberg.
and he is sadly non-TA person, but
Yeah,
he is a professor of McGill University in Canada. He is a specialist in management.
yeah,
So he is a person of researcher in management
yeah,
area. And he talked about the worldly as an alternative concept to the global.
Mm,
Yeah. Firstly, global is such as McDonald's or as a 7-Eleven, or everywhere we can see the same, shop, same product.
yeah,
So this is a concept of global.
yeah,
So yeah, and worldly is not like that. Worldly is, and some concept might be exist, but means more translated or integrated with a local culture. That is a sense of worldly.
I really like that.
And TA can be worldly because TA has very nice universal philosophy.
Yeah.
So, for example, when I over adapt to the European TA, series, it is not worldly. It's global in many ways because most of the TA practitioners who facilitate the development of TA theory from now are European people.
Yeah.
So it's over adapt to the global standard. That is a globalism. But
Yeah.
I want to be worldly instead, to create the new perspective with merging the Japanese culture and TA in good way, export this kind of concept to other regions of the world. Yeah,
Nice.
that's a sense of worldly. Is that clear? Yeah, it's very abstractive in many ways.
Very interesting. It makes me think about TA in Ireland. There is very little TA in Ireland. Very, very little, which is unusual because of our relationship with the United Kingdom, our proximity to Europe, where there is so much TA. But TA has never really integrated here. It has been, I think, in some ways rejected in our culture. And I think from what you just said, I've just begun to realize why. I think Ireland, not always, we have McDonald's and 7-Eleven and plenty of global organizations, okay?
Mhm.
But some pockets and areas, we don't like globalism. And I think that comes from our history of colonization and oppression, where we want to push away external influences that in some way diminish our own indigenous culture.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm making sense of something now that you've shared this distinction between globalism and being worldly. I think for TA to succeed in Ireland, Irish people will need to integrate it in a way that makes sense for Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
nice.
Mm.
And yeah, Japan doesn't have the experience of colonized. I hate this word. It's not for Japanese tongue, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, but shortly, the United States occupied some partial area,
Yeah.
such as Okinawa Island
Yeah.
or other places. We still have the U.S. Army basement in our
Yeah.
country, but not fully occupied. That's a history. So, because of that, maybe Japanese people have sort of xenophobic sense in our culture. Yeah, that's a reason why we want to distinguish Japanese culture from others.
Yeah.
We
Mm.
have such kind of sense inside our culture. But this era is not, we cannot survive with such a xenophobic sense in
Yeah.
this era. So we need to open. But I think we need to know how to open to other cultures. We need
Yeah.
a strategy when we learn outside our culture, and we need to import some new theories and new tools from other country. We need some strategy, and my strategy is worldly.
I'm really keen to explore how you personally have integrated TA theory with your local spiritual practice and wisdom. So I'm very keen for you to share with us the way that you have integrated this kind of new aspect of using TA. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, thank you for asking about that point. To integrate TA and my culture, I create one new program called Contemplative TA.
Yeah.
Contemplative is not for Japanese tongue as well, but I like this word very much.
Could I ask you to say TA in your own language, in Japanese? I would love to hear you say it in Japanese.
Contemplative TA in Japanese is 感想的 TA
Lovely.
or 感想的交流分析.
I
Yeah.
feel a resonance now when you share it in your own language.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Thank you for asking about the sense of Japanese throughout the language. So, contemplative TA is based on my experience and integrated following to my experience of Shugendo and Zen practice and learning experience of TA. And contemplative TA is totally all about the somatic learning rather than the cognitive learning.
Okay.
Yeah. And it is all about cultivating or integrating adult
Great.
and bring back the connection, sense of connection to our resources inside and outside of us.
Yeah.
And developing the negative capability which nurtures okayness inside us.
Sorry, did you say developing negative capability?
Yeah, negative capability.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, negative capability is the concept of holding and containing the unknown things or uncomfortable feelings and not judging immediately. Such kind of ability is called negative capability.
Okay. That's new to me. Thank you.
Oh, really? Thank you for asking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is all about hold and contain.
So what is it about your experience of Shugendo that is enriching the understanding of this integrating adult experience and negative TA? What is it about Shugendo that is bringing a new aspect? So teach us what you're learning from.
Yeah, Shugendo practice. My Shugendo is based on the perspective of Shinto,
Yeah.
and other school of Shugendo are based on Buddhism. But mine is Shugendo based on Shinto.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm thinking how to describe it for now. Maybe my experience of training Shugendo is the nice way to talk about. First time I get into the Shugendo training, it was a 3 days Shugendo training.
Yeah.
And the first day I went there, the place, sacred place called Dewasanzan in Japanese northeast area. We have a mountain, famous mountain.
Yeah.
And I went there and joined the Shugendo training. And firstly, the assistant trainer said, you cannot speak whole 3 days except the word of uketamoo. Uketamoo is Japanese. The meaning of it is I accept it.
Ah.
So it means the participants of the training need to follow whatever the leader says. So that's a situation. And what I did with colleagues of Shugendo training was running through the mountain in rapid speed, whole day, and during the waterfall training, it was enormously cold.
Is this where you sit under a waterfall,
Yeah,
illness and like meditation?
yeah.
Wow.
Waterfall training and chanting hundreds time, day
Yeah.
and night, with only one word, uketamo.
Okay.
Yeah, it was intensive 3 days in
Yeah.
terms of the physical and condition and the psychological condition as well. Because we cannot say anything in the training. A lot of mind wandering was going on in my head. But at some moment, such kind of mind wandering were calmed down. Because I need to climb up the mountain in high speed and I need to catch up with the group. So I need to shut down my cognitive thoughts.
Yeah.
Instead, my somatic wisdom was booted up instead. And somehow I experienced a very clear eyesight and a clear sensation of body. Such kind of experience I had as the first experience of Shugendo training.
Wow.
And don't you think this is similar to what I said about the presence? Everything are clear and settled down and anchored. And somehow what I had was the sense of connection to not only the people, but also the mountain and forest and waterfall as well.
Your
Yeah,
sense of presence was much more than just your being in your somatic body. It was the whole
yeah,
being present in that landscape.
yeah. Nature system,
Yeah.
whole nature system. Yeah.
Wow. What was it like after, when you finished that 3-day training? What was your experience like afterwards?
Afterwards, yeah, first moment I felt huge allergic response from my, inside because business world is completely separated from the nature system,
Yeah.
sadly. So I needed to soothe my allergic response from my inside world.
Yeah.
So
So when you say allergic response, you are having a somatic reaction, discomfort going back into your normal working life.
yes,
Interesting.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
because what I felt in the business context after the Shugendo training was all of things are divided by boundaries,
Yeah.
rigid boundaries. That's the word what I saw after the
Yeah.
Shugendo training. And too rigid boundary could be one of the obstacle to connect ourselves or
Yeah.
connect others and connect to the nature system.
So now I'm really curious. This training program that you've put together called Contemplative TA, what does that involve? And what is different from contemplative TA to mindfulness based TA or other
Oh,
different aspects of TA?
okay. The different point from other schools of TA, such as you said about mindfulness TA or other schools, is the perspective. The perspective is based on Japanese perspective.
Okay.
Yeah. And secondly, the approach is different. It is based on the somatic learning and not only sit and feel. We do a lot of ritual things in Shugendo training, chanting or,
Ah,
run up the mountain or so it's experiential learning.
okay. So
Mm,
your program involves being in the mountain
yeah.
like your Shugendo experience. Okay, wow. And
Yes.
so it's more than just being still and contemplating your inner world. It's actually,
Yeah.
okay, fantastic.
It's
That's very different.
it's in the nature system. We will
Brilliant.
do training.
I noticed that I might have a prejudice that being contemplative means being still.
Yeah.
Ah,
And now I'm thinking, where did I pick this up from? That contemplativeness is about stillness.
mm.
Does this make sense to you, Aya, about why somebody would think this or where this comes from? This idea that contemplative equals stillness rather than activity?
I'm not sure about that, but so many mindfulness practitioners use the contemplative as, sit and feel the stillness or such kind of things. But
Yeah.
yeah, we can feel the stillness even we are, climbing up the mountain.
Nice.
Yeah, this makes sense to me because personally, I have never enjoyed being still. I need a lot of movement. You know, being still for me has and trying to hold my body in stillness is not natural for me. And it's not natural for a lot of the people I work with. I don't want to make kind of simple
Yeah.
conclusions, but I think for a lot of neurodivergent people, stillness is just
Mhm.
not accessible. When you talk to them about mindfulness or meditation, immediately they'll go, no, that doesn't work for me because they have this connotation of mindfulness and meditation being still. And the forms of mindfulness or meditation that I have liked have been active. So
Yeah.
I really like Five Rhythms, the dance process. I really like Osho's active dynamic meditation. So I'm just realizing now that I had always associated the word contemplative with this version of being still and quiet.
That's so interesting because I've just recently moved this bookcase. I've got a book up here by Martin Wells, and he has written a book called Sitting in Stillness. And and I think you're right, those two things get conflated unnecessarily. There are a lot of contemplative practices that are about movement and presence with movement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So sitting meditation is very nice in a way.
Mm.
However, it is very hard to boot up the ability of somatic channel to understand the situation,
Yeah.
or it is for some people, like John mentioned, it
Yeah.
is very hard to have the sense of connection to
Yeah.
other element in the world.
Yeah.
I want to invite people to taste.
Nice.
Lovely. Oh, what a nice way to put it. I want to invite people to taste. Lovely.
Yeah.
I also noticed that you talk a lot about the natural environment and the nature system. And I wonder your thoughts about how that does or does not relate to eco TA, which many people predominantly, I think, in the UK at this point, maybe in other parts of the world now as well, but initially very much UK centered, yeah, have been, theorizing and exploring this idea of TA in relation to the ecology and the natural world.
Mm.
When I've heard and read about the eco-TA concept by Giles Barrows, first time I felt was it's a little bit different from Japanese perspective who are engaging in the Shugendo training, because how can I call that? And for Japanese people, nature system is not the objective thing.
Uh,
So the personal boundary of Japanese people are very indistinct in many ways. So sometimes we feel nature like a human. So the connection is always happening and loosening. Such kind of sensation or the perspective Japanese people might have. Not all of Japanese people are like this, but yeah, from my perspective, such kind of sense of boundary we have.
Yeah.
So the nature system is not the objective thing. But what I picked up from the Eco TA theory or papers, and it was sort of using nature to develop ourselves or such kind of things.
That's a really great insight.
Yeah, but Shugendo is not like that. So we are we are the part of the nature system,
Yeah.
but somehow we lose the connection with the nature system. So it is all about bring back the connection as a part of the nature system.
Yeah.
That's a perspective of Shugendo and Zen as well. So all elements are already interconnected. So Shugendo training is for bring back the sense of connection to other elements.
And when you say that, the thought that comes to mind is this idea of integrating adult. Actually, if our integrating adult is working effectively, then we are experiencing integrating with nature, being part of rather than separate to.
Right.
It's a very common problem, I think, in the Western mindset of objectification, individuality, separateness. I was reading that in the West, the idea of self-esteem is connected to depression, but less so in Japanese culture, interestingly, that self-esteem doesn't make much difference because there's less of a focus on the self. There's an awful lot of things in that paper that I was reading, but this idea that we are part of rather than separate to, I think it's a difficult thing for a Westerner to fully understand. Maybe experientially is how it needs to be understood.
Exactly. That's why I choose experiential learning and the experience in the mountain. Yeah, mountain is a very nice container to experience, to create such an experience.
I would add to that as well, like to make it more explicit, I think, that from my perspective, capitalism is what drives that aspect of objectification. It's not like objectification is Western culture. It's created by our economical system because in capitalism, everything is an object, including us. Yeah, and everything is available for commodification because everything is available to be sold to make money from, and therefore everything gets productized or made a service or,
industrialization. Exactly.
Yeah, so it is not about the culture.
Yeah.
It is artificial system that created by human beings.
Because in Ireland and in many European countries, we have ancient indigenous aspects to our culture that just unfortunately have been lost.
Yeah.
In Ireland, we have a deep history with paganism and shamanism that some of us are in touch with and many are not. And we have an ancient language that is not based on any Germanic language or any Latin language, which has unfortunately been relatively lost. And there are many people out there doing great work to try and get people back in contact with this ancient wisdom. It's difficult to do that in a society that is so influenced by capitalism.
Yeah.
What I find interesting about the Japanese perspective, Aya, is Japan is also a thriving capitalist economy. Why do you think Japan hasn't been as negatively influenced in that way as we have, let's say, been in Europe? Do you have any thoughts about why you have managed to retain your connection to these ancient practices?
I need to say that most of Japanese people get influenced by the capitalism or individualism as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the reason why a lot of Japanese, especially the practitioners such as coaches and counselors and consultants, come to the Dewa Sanzan, the sacred mountain, where Shugendo training is held. They come and join the training because they have some sense of limitation of capitalism and individualism. Yeah, it's unconscious or non-conscious understanding of limitation of capitalism. There's a reason why they come and get involved in the Shugendo training. And talking about the history of Shugendo, Shugendo has more than 1,300 years of tradition as a
Yeah.
history. But once it was forbidden,
Yeah. I was reading about that.
yeah, 115 years, maybe it was forbidden. And because Japan at that moment wanted to catch up with the Western country like UK or United States
Yeah.
for avoiding to be occupied. And we learned how to behave like, the individualistic culture or yeah, that's such kind of direction that moment Japanese government chose. And they forbid Shugendo more than 1 century.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
we brought back the culture of Shugendo after World War II. We Japanese also are learning and bringing back the ancient wisdom. That's a situation of Japan, I think, from my perspective.
Yeah. It's interesting what you said, John, because in England as well, there is a history of paganism,
Mm.
but it's many ancient practices have been in Europe absolutely suppressed by the Christian Catholic Church and Christian churches, and slowly emerging again without the persecution. It's a fascinating thing, isn't it? It's interesting because I think what we're all talking about here is our connection to the ancient practices of being part of nature.
Yeah.
Because all of these ancient religions or spiritual beliefs are all about being connected to nature, much more so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rather than there's us and then there's this separate God.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Fascinating.
TA is very nice catalyst to connect such an capitalism world and ancient wisdom learning. That's my understanding. That's why I, use TA with Shugendo and Zen.
Mm.
Great. I like that. A catalyst. I like the title of a transactional catalyst instead of a transactional analyst. A catalyst being something that isn't in the reaction but supports a reaction, supports a change. So maybe that's what we're doing here. Can I ask just quickly, because I realized the time has flown by. Can I ask quickly, this training that you're running, Contemplative TA, what does that involve? Is it similar to your Shugendo experience? Is it a 3-day immersive experience in the mountains? What's it like?
Thank you for asking about that. I'm on my way of designing it for now, but it will be the 5 days experience. The core 3 days are mid 3 days, and day 2 to day 4, we will do the Shugendo training in the mountain. And maybe the first day we need to disconnect from the daily life context. And I'd like to invite the participants in the Zen temple to learn Zen meditation or them, Zen eating or yeah, that kind of Zen perspective. It is helpful to slow down and get into the Shugendo training. That's the first day. And we experienced the core 3 days of running up the mountain and doing waterfall training or chanting or such kind of experience. 3 days. And then day 5 will be the processing time. In experiential learning, the harvesting, the reflecting time is the most important part. So we will use 1 day for reflection. And at that moment, I'd like to use TA frameworks and TA series, TA frame of reference to support the processing of participants.
Wow. Sounds like that is going to be a remarkable experience.
You need to come to Japan.
Yeah, that is definitely one of my goals, travel goals.
Yeah.
I need to add an extra 5 days, maybe.
So, Aya, if you were to share a closing perspective on our conversation, what would it be? Where do you feel we have got to?
I feel very settled down for now, and I feel satisfied in many ways. So the co-creation with you two, Matt and John, is tremendous for me. And I recognize what I want to do in Japan again. And it is, revitalizing process for me to talk about my thought. Yeah. Thank you, John, Matt. How do you feel?
I feel good. I also feel kind of inspired.
Yeah.
And I feel like my frame of reference has been disturbed, which is great. That's one of the reasons I keep coming back to TA, because I enjoy having my frame of reference disturbed. I feel like maybe there has been a contamination that has been resolved around this thing about what contemplative really means. I feel like I have a better understanding of the whole TA in Ireland thing because of the worldly versus globalism. For me, this conversation has been very rich.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice. For me, I'm really moved and impacted by the idea of being in nature and part of. And it's such a common thing for me to, as I'm walking, I live just down the road from a nature reserve and beautiful meadows and the river. But often I feel separate. I go about my daily life and I do my work. And then at the end of the day, I might go for a walk or go for a swim. But often I feel separate. But interestingly, when I feel that sense of equanimity, it's when I'm moving. I love to swim in the river. And that is one of my favorite things to do on a summer's evening. And I think that's been one of my insights. And maybe that's part of what I'm experiencing is that, the being part of rather than being separate to. And so, wonderful, really wonderful conversation. So, the movement being part of that, I think, is a really important thing. And I hadn't recognized that connection between stillness and contemplation as well. I think that's a really important insight. Wonderful conversation.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your insights and your new ideas.
Thank you too.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave us a review. Leaving a review allows more people to discover the podcast, so you can scroll down to the ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts and click write a review. If you haven't already, please follow us wherever you get your podcasts from. We're available on all major podcast platforms. For more information, you can visit our website, www.tapodcast.com, or follow on all the usual social media platforms. This podcast is brought to you in partnership with the United Kingdom Association for Transactional Analysis, the European Association for Transactional Analysis, and our wonderful Patreon supporters.